Today, we're digging into a story that went viral for all the wrong reasons. It's about a pretty shocking confrontation that happened on an Ibom Air flight. And this isn't just about a wild video clip. It's a story that gets you thinking about safety and just basic conduct when we're all packed into a plane.
You've probably wondered about this yourself, right? I mean, we've all been on flights. We've all felt the stress that comes with traveling. But what happens when that stress just completely boils over into actual violence? That's the big question at the heart of this whole incident.
So how did this whole thing come to light? Well, like a lot of stories these days, it all started with a shaky video clip. You see a passenger in this really heated physical scuffle with the cabin crew, and airport security is trying to jump in. The footage, it went everywhere. But it only showed the explosive final moments of a conflict that had actually been building up for the entire flight.
Okay, let's get into it. Section 1. Drama at 30,000 feet.
To really understand what went down, we've got to rewind. The craziness didn't just start when the plane landed. Oh no, the fuse for this whole thing was lit way earlier. And thankfully, the airline Ibom Air actually released a detailed statement that pieces together the entire chain of events for us.
So you can see how this all just snowballed. It all kicked off back in Uyo with a totally standard safety instruction: turn off your phone. But the passenger, a Miss Comfort Emmanson, she reportedly just refused. So the pilot makes an announcement and another passenger ends up switching it off for her. That led to what the airline called a verbal tirade. But here's the kicker. She waited. When they got to Lagos, she let every single other passenger get off the plane first, and then she confronted the crew. And that's when things turned violent, and she ended up getting arrested.
You know, her actions fall perfectly into this official aviation category, an unruly passenger. And that's not just a fancy way of saying someone's being annoying. It's a technical term for behavior that messes with the safety and the good order of a flight. And refusing to follow crew instructions, that's the classic starting point.
And according to Ibom Air's report, this wasn't just a small scuffle. It got really serious really fast. First, the passenger allegedly stepped on the purser, the head cabin crew member, and tore her wig off. Then she slapped the purser and another crew member multiple times. After that, she actually used her own shoe to assault the purser. It gets even scarier. She then tried to grab a fire extinguisher to use as a weapon. And the assault didn't even stop there. She went on to attack the security personnel who came to intervene.
Now, it's really important to know this didn't just happen out of the blue. This whole confrontation took place just a few days after the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, the NCAA, had banned a famous musician, K1D Ultimate, for his own unruly behavior. So this stuff is clearly on the authorities' radar, which helps explain why the response was so fast and so serious.
So what happened next? Well, the airline's response was immediate and incredibly decisive. This next part isn't just about punishment, it's about setting a clear line in the sand for safety.
The consequences were, well, severe. For the passenger, it meant a lifetime ban from flying with Ibom Air, plus being handed over to the police to be investigated. And for the airline, this was a moment to publicly double down on its zero-tolerance policy and to stand by its staff, who they praised for being so professional under, extreme circumstances.
And Ibom Air did not mince words. This quote from their official statement really lays down the law. They made it absolutely clear that any behavior that threatens the safety of passengers, crew, or the plane itself is going to be met with the toughest response possible. That's a message for everyone, not just this one passenger.
This entire messy incident really boils down to one fundamental concept in air travel, something officials are trying to hammer home: the balance between your rights as a passenger and your responsibilities.
And this quote from Michael Achimugu at the NCAA, man, it just hits the nail on the head. Of course, passengers have rights to safe and comfortable travel. Absolutely. But you also have a duty to help create that safety. Think about it. An airplane is a shared, tight space where everyone's cooperation is literally essential. Those simple instructions aren't just suggestions. They're part of a really complex safety system.
When you look at these responsibilities, they're pretty simple, right? But they also read like a play-by-play of exactly what went wrong on that flight. From following crew instructions about your phone, to just being respectful, to not assaulting people, and definitely never, ever trying to use safety gear like a fire extinguisher as a weapon. These rules aren't just there for fun.
They are the bedrock of safety for every single person on board.
And that's what we're left with, really. This whole thing blew up because of a viral video, but the real story is about all those rules, both written and unwritten, that keep us all safe at 30,000 feet. It really forces us to ask, in a world where every single conflict can be broadcast to millions in seconds, how do we keep the focus on our collective safety instead of our individual anger? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.